और क्या, इसमें बैठना पड़ता है, कुर्सी तो हो जाता है, कम से कम बैठ तो जाए। वहाँ पोडियम करवा दिया जी, हाँ बैठेंगे सभी। गुड आफ्टरनून, एम आई ऑडिबल? निकिता, राम, सौम्य, सुष्मिता।
Good afternoon, sir. You're audible.
So what was the last thing we were doing? Article 19(1)(c). Okay, within that we had seen 1D was done. Okay, the E had to be written, na? ठीक है. Article 19(1)(e) hyphen right to reside and resettlement. Right to reside and resettlement. Within this, write down, this article empowers the Indian citizens in the class. This article empowers the Indian citizens to move throughout. To move, sorry, move तो पहला वाला है, cut it down, reside. हाँ, इससे पहले वाला, to reside and resettle. Empower the Indian citizen to reside and resettle throughout that territory. Reside and resettle throughout the territory of India. Throughout the territory of India. So can I say this article is kind of corollary of the earlier article? What is earlier article? Freedom to travel. Of course, if you want to travel, you have to reside. Okay, if I have to go from here to Tamil Nadu, of course I will stay some time there, then only I can come back to Delhi. So it's a corollary. So again, we have understood one thing in a lot of articles, that a lot of articles were not required to be put in. But why our founding fathers and mothers put it? So that they do not leave anything to chances. So that no government of any color interpret them narrowly. They will say, yeah, you have right to move, but not reside. Of course, it will not make sense. But again, government is government. Okay? So for that reason, we have made sure that there is right to settle. Cool? Yeah? Can we decide? Of course, you can decide anything. Who can stop you? कहाँ allow नहीं? नॉर्थ ईस्ट, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट्स हाईली, नॉर्थ ईस्ट आप अलग समझिए, वो 8वां व्यक्ति है ऊपर की साइड. अगेन देयर डोमेस्टिक लॉ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डोमिसाइल मे बी डिफरेंट, पर सेटलमेंट डज नॉट मीन डोमिसाइल इज डिफरेंट. डोमिसाइल मीन्स टू सेटल फॉर अ लॉन्गर पीरियड. बाकी हो सकता है दे मे हैव अ लॉ दैट द आउटसाइड पीपल आर नॉट अलाउड. ऑफ कोर्स इट कुड बी अ लॉ, बट सेटलमेंट फॉर टेम्पररी पर्पस इज अलाउड एवरीवेयर एक्सेप्ट शेड्यूल्ड एरियाज. वी डिस्कस दैट ना. लिखिए नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. This right is basically a corollary this right is basically a corollary of article 19(1)(d). Corollary of article 19(1)(d), and so it is subjected to the same restrictions. And so it is subjected to the same restrictions. So what were the restriction in the earlier article? Security of state, public order, morality decency. Same principle will apply here also. Clear? Take a full stop. Next point. This right does not cover. This right does not cover the scheduled areas. The scheduled areas. We understood the scheduled areas. These are the areas which are given special protection. We are yet to do schedules. There we will understand more. Next, Article 19(1)(g). Article 19(1)(g). A B C D E F. F की कहानी भी पढ़ेंगे थोड़ी देर में. Article 19(1)(g). Within this, write down right to profession. This article is right to profession / avocation. Avocation means any job or something. Right to profession / avocation. Within this, write down this article confers fundamental right. This articles confer fundamental right to avocation. AVACATION. Avocation. Okay. Full stop. It means a citizen of India. It means a citizen of India can choose. It means a citizen of India can choose any profession, occupation or business. Any profession, occupation or business of their choice. Okay. Full stop. Next para. However, the state can impose. The necessary qualifications. The state can impose the necessary qualifications. Full stop. Okay. So you have 6 rights within Article 19(1). What are these rights? Freedom of speech and expression. Assemble. Association. Travel. Reside. Profession. Okay? These are the 6 fundamental rights that you have, but however, state can put restrictions on them, but always on reasonable grounds. Okay. Okay. Next, write down case study, right to property. Next is case study, right to property. Once upon a time on earth, in this case India, Article 31 or the article that you are referring to, 19(1)(f) कहाँ गया? यहाँ गया. Okay, this article was basically talked about right to property. Initially, when Constitution was enacted, you had 7 rights. 7th one was right to property, means every Indian enjoy right to property. Now it's a very important right. It means the state cannot take away your property at whims and fancies. Why this right was given? Because we had experience with colonialism. Britishers captured our territory. A lot of people were made from owner to tenants on their own land by the Britishers. Zamindars were imposed over you. You know that permanent settlement. कुछ idea है? Modern Indian history, permanent settlement. People online. क्या शो कर? अच्छा आइडिया नहीं है क्या लोगों को? देखिए, in modern history you will understand 3 kind of economic system instituted by the Britishers: Mahalwari, Raiyatwari and permanent settlement. they will be taught in modern history in detail. So one was permanent settlement. It was largely concentrated on the eastern India, northern and eastern India, you can say. So what was this system? Under this system, zamindars were created. But it's said that if I take revenue from you, you are working on your land, I take the part of it, I take your revenue, then you will be like very hurt. So you could revolt. Always remember, taxation is a very important thing. If your government impose tax, then government must appear to using it wisely. Otherwise, people are very angry over that. Imagine you are working hard, you are earning 1 lakh rupee, and then 10% is taken by the state, 10,000 rupees every month of your earning. And then you see that they are buying MLA and MPs, not building your road. Of course, it will hurt you. Clear? Your hard-earned money is taken by government in the name of taxation. The Britishers understood this. Britishers knew we will not provide these people services. They knew because they were here in India not to govern India but to exploit India. So for exploitation, they will not give you services, and then they will tax you. Then you are likely to revolt. So they thought, why don't we have an intermediary? Rather than looting you, I will loot your father. It's obvious that your father give you that pocket money and everything you're not earning right now. So I will loot your father, and your father gives you money, so you will feel burned from your father. When your father gives you 10,000 rupees this month, next month he says take 8,000 because I don't have the money. You will be like, kahan kharch karte phirte ho paise? But that person knows that that person has to pay more taxes now. You got the point. So that's what Britishers thought, and they installed a system. Yeah, here you have British rule. In between, they installed a system of zamindari, also known as permanent settlement. And here you have the peasants. These peasants never knew that these people are exploiting these. They always revolted against these people. And that's why it is said that there are three pillars on which British rule survived in India. What were those three pillars? Number one was zamindars. They became the biggest supporter of British rule. Why? It's obvious. I, as a zamindar, have all these villages. Why? Because Britishers has given me. As soon as Britishers will leave, the people will take away my land. So my rule, my wealth, my prosperity is directly linked with British. They were the strongest supporter of British rule. The other supporters were the kings and the queens, the princely states. They also knew that once Britishers leave, the Congress will come in power, and this will root out the princelies. So these were the two strongest pillars. The third pillar of the British rule was civil services. We discussed this now in governance. The civil servant that you want to be was the most strongest support of the Britishers. These three people ensured that the Britishers rule India for a longer time they could. So how civil services work? Because in governance it will be taught that Indian civil service was not created to govern you, but to control you. Initially, the DM, what was the role of the DM? He was a collector. That's why you have a district collector. The collector word was to emphasize, he was to appropriate the money from whom? Zamindars. Zamindar will take money from you, the Zamindar will give to the district collector will deposit to the British rule. Clear? That was the process. So again, you are a collector, you are an agent of the state. As the agent of the state, your loyalty is toward the state, not the people. And they innovative another thing, they never, for example, if they recruited some collectors and something, they were very few, first of all. And anyone who could become an IAS officer, they picked from Bengal, but they did not used to appoint them in Bengal. They always tried that person do not go in Bengal. Sometimes it emotionally attached hoga na that person. So that's the same practice India has in case of army. आर्मी केस में भी द गवर्नमेंट ट्राइज दैट इसी इलाके के लोगों को नहीं भेजा जाए. Imagine, because most of the sepoys in Indian army are from rural areas. Imagine you are from Bihar, some gaon, and if I sent you to control that Bihar, that gaon, that village who is protesting against the government, would you control? because the people present there are your own brothers and sisters. तो कैसे उन पे आप बंदूक चला लोगे? So that company will not be sent there, other company will be sent. But कई बार होता है because आप किस कंपनी में हो, government cannot know everything. So sometimes same company can be sent, हो जाता है ऐसा. But largely it is tried to be avoided. ठीक है? So Britishers were ruled by these three people. यहाँ तक clear? So when India got independence, so these people, these three people especially princely and zamindar, they were very fearful of their property. कि भाई our property could be taken because India, देखिए Gandhi ji gave a sermon, land belongs to the tiller, means the person who will work on the land, that land belongs to that person. This zamindar never worked on the land. They were the overlords. They never worked on the land. They themselves did not work on the land. Na? So Gandhi gave the sermon, land belongs to the tiller. These people feared that our land could be taken away. So they, at that point of time, a lot of people, these people were present in parliament. Constituent assembly at that point of time. So they pressurized, they debated, they discussed, and ultimately right to property became a very crucial right. A problem came. In 1950, constitution is enforced. You have a right to property. And Congress, since 1920s, I would say, promised that as soon as India get independence, we will abolish zamindari. How could you abolish zamindari with right to property? So it became a very severe problem for India. That if you have right to property, you cannot abolish zamindari, and you have to abolish zamindari. Whenever the government tried to abolish zamindari, what happened? All the zamindar went to courts, high courts and supreme courts. They said that this person is abolishing taking away my land, and it's a right to property. It's a fundamental right. You cannot take away. The courts used to overturn the order of the government. So it continued for a long time. This rassakasi. Ultimately, 44th constitutional amendment after emergency. Ultimately, 44th constitutional amendment deleted this provision and this, and shifted right to property from fundamental right chapter to only an article 300A. So now what is the status? The status is you have right to property, no doubt, but it is not a fundamental right. It is only a constitutional and legal right. Clear? So what's the crucial difference here? For example, if today, as the government of Delhi, if I take away your land, can you go to Supreme Court? कैसे जा सकते हो यार? क्या कंपल्सन नहीं दिया मान लेते हैं, तब भी नहीं जा सकते, because we discussed this that you can go directly to Supreme Court only for the violation of fundamental rights. In this case, you can only approach High Court. Clear? Because who is the guardian of fundamental rights? Supreme Court. Clear? Guardian of fundamental rights. Clear? Everyone online clear that this right has been taken away? Why? Shivani, is it a first class? Shivani कौन है? Hey, just a second. Shall we write? So currently, what you have this is your first class. Okay. इतना इम्पोर्टेंट चटवा क्या हो गया? चाबी हो गई कहाँ की? अच्छा मतलब चलिए. Shivani, actually we are doing fundamental rights. We are very ahead. I don't know. Okay, try to go through whatever is being taught. If any problem come, you can ask in the class. क्या बोले? ठीक है, please write down. Everyone clear ना? सबका हाँ clear है. चलिए लिखिए. Case study, right to property. Within this, write down. Initially, Britishers tried to rule over India. Initially, Britishers tried to rule over India by force. Tried to rule over India by force. Full stop. However, later on, it was felt. That the Britishers need allies. That the Britishers need allies in India. That the Britishers need allies in India to properly control it. Need allies in India to properly control it. Full stop. With that intention, they instituted. With that intention, they instituted various reforms. With that intention, they instituted various reforms, including permanent settlement. Shivani, this case study is about to be done. Now, after this, we have a new article, so you may get better understanding with that article. तो देखिए, this was one of the purpose. There were numerous purpose. ऐसा नहीं था सिर्फ यही purpose था. There were numerous purpose to bring permanent settlement. This was the political angle of it. We are discussing polity, so we will discuss political angle. There were economic angle also, but that's different. Clear? Could you repeat what was the last line? Okay, cool. Full stop. Next para. In 1950, the Constitution of India. In 1950, the Constitution of India was enforced. In 1950, the Constitution of India was enforced. It provided, full stop, it provided a fundamental right to property. It provided a fundamental right to property under Article 19(1)(f). Under Article 19(1)(f) and Article 31. 19(1)(f) and Article 31. Full stop. When the government around the country tried to abolish the zamindari system. It was constantly challenged. On the ground that right to property is a fundamental right. constantly challenged on the ground that right to property is a fundamental right. ठीक है, full stop. Next para. Gandhi ji, Gandhi ji had Gandhi ji had emphasized Gandhi ji had emphasized that land belongs to the tiller. Gandhi ji had emphasized that land belongs to the tiller, and so the land reforms became one of the important most important facet of facet of independence struggle. Full stop. Next para. Finally, under 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Under 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, the right to property was shifted from fundamental right to a legal and constitutional right. Shifted from a fundamental right to a legal and constitutional right under Article 300A. Under Article 300A. Okay, full stop. Next para. Recently the government has enacted नहीं, क्वेश्चन पूछा, अभी उससे बात करते हैं. रिसेंटली क्या लिखा है हमने? रिसेंटली द गवर्नमेंट हैज इनेक्टेड, गवर्नमेंट खा गए. Recently the government has enacted the LARR Act. LARR Act, within bracket, Land Acquisition, Resettlement and Rehabilitation Act. Land Acquisition, Resettlement and Rehabilitation Act. Full stop. Put a star over it. It's a very, very important thing. You must cover it. Economics में basically. Economics में और governance में भी थोड़ा हो सकता है वैसे. Economics में basically you have to cover. This is an act under which government has shifted the entire philosophy of what? Land acquisition. This is a replacement of British Act. Act was during British time. The government could take over anyone's land. So we shifted from that to this system, but this is a very big problem for economy. Imagine I am, for example, a private corporation, because we know government has shifted from government to private sector. So I am a private corporation. I want to lay down a factory somewhere. For that, I have to capture land. Of course, I have to take land. I will give compensation. But imagine this, for that, this act lays a very strict guidelines that you require assent of around 75% of the people. For government project, 90 for private project, say for example. So what will happen then? 90% matlab all I have to do is instigate only few of the households in the village, and the entire project will stop. So what I will do, as a anyone interested, what I will do, I will say to the villagers, do not agree on the price they are giving. I will fetch you a greater price. Just 2 or 3 houses in the village, and the entire project will stop. So that's the problem in LARR. Economics में it will be covered in detail. I have just given you an idea. ठीक है? Clear everyone? अब Ram has asked, Congress decided to do away with the Tamil system. नहीं राम, देखिए गांधी का तो किसी ने नहीं सुना. The thing is, Gandhi said a lot of things and nobody heard anything. Everyone praised Gandhi and this and that. But when the Indian Constitution was being made, Gandhi was of course not there. Okay, so Gandhi and Patel both were more or less absent. So because Gandhi did not participate, so Gandhian idea were not included. Remember, this Indian Constitution had nothing of Gandhian origin enforceable. Gandhi got its place in DPSP. तो गांधी की तो बात ही अलग है. Second, why Congress included zamindari when right to property when they had to abolish zamindari. It's called political negotiation. For example, BJP believed that 370 must be abolished. It was in its manifesto forever. But when it came to forming government in Jammu Kashmir, it formed the government with Mehbooba Mufti, a person ardent supporter of 370. So sometime in politics, you have to negotiate. At this point of time, we wanted the support of all these zamindar and pinslis. We wanted their support. So Congress thought कि भाई it's time, let have the support. बाकी बाद में देखेंगे. Let first the Britishers go out of the country. फिर देखते हैं आगे क्या करना है. But it was a common fact. Everybody knew that zamindari will be abolished. But that आपका जो history पढ़ाएंगे, the whosoever will teach you history ना, they will teach you in a post-independence India that this zamindari abolition became a very big problem. Even today we have ramification. In internal security, you will study about Naxalism and all. That's a direct problem of this. Abolition of right to property, corporate greed, and for zamindari. Direct result is Naxalism. So these things are linked. But यहाँ पे we, of course, we cannot cover anything, everything. Sorry, clear? Next, अब हम करेंगे. We will do the next article. Write down next article. Article 20. Conviction of an offense. Before doing that, Shivani, do you have any idea what is fundamental right, what is constitution? Any idea you have studied earlier, or just everything afresh? Okay, so you have the idea, na? Cool. So that will be easy now. Okay, so we are doing fundamental rights. As the name implies, they are fundamental for the very existence of a human being. That's why we call them fundamental rights. And the biggest thing about them is they are enforceable in the court of law. If anyone violates your fundamental right, you can directly approach Supreme Court. You do not have to go to lower courts, high courts and all. Direct go to Supreme Court. And best thing about that is Supreme Court cannot say no. If you go with your petition for a violation of fundamental rights, Supreme Court has to look at that petition. However, after reading, it may say it's a bogus petition and discard it. That's a different thing. But it cannot say no before taking the case into account. A High Court can say, I don't have time, go somewhere else. Okay? So next is Article 20, conviction for an offense. Conviction for an offense. Just for example, you have marriages, conviction for an offense of love with imprisonment, life imprisonment. Yeah, yes, it's something you want to have, and then after having it, you are like, क्यों करी? क्यों करी? Why did I do it? Anyway, conviction of an offense. So इसमें देखिए, there are certain things that government, Shivani, I don't have access to mic, speaker. If you want to say something, do write. Conviction of an government want to make sure that our founding father wanted to make sure, because during British's time, a lot of people were arrested without any cause. Gandhiji initiated civil disobedience, arrest. Non-cooperation, arrest. So a lot of people were put behind bars without proper trial by the Britishers. So this is something we did not want in independent India. Always remember, our police personnel are over enthusiastic. They always want to appease their political masters. Why they want to appease political masters? Because we know the political masters control our police directly. If you you may be IPS and all, you may think big things about that person, but as soon as MLA comes in, you are powerless. That person is way more powerful than you, because that person will ring a call and you will be transferred somewhere. Okay? So you fear that person. But anyway, we have some protection for conviction of an offense. First is, just give me a second. Ex post facto legislation. This first point prevents government, that is parliament or the state legislature, from enacting anything from retrospective. Kabhi suna hai word? Anyone? Have you ever heard this word, retrospective effect? रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट सुना है? कहाँ सुना है? कहाँ सुना है? फिजिक्स में? ठीक है, ये फिजिक्स का तो नहीं है वैसे. Yes. For example, you commit a murder today. Yes, Sushmita and Ram, you're right. For example, you commit a murder today. Or today, let's suppose there is no penalty for murder. Okay? You commit a murder today, can police arrest you? No, because there is no law. Tomorrow, government makes a law that committing a murder will be, for example, punished by life imprisonment. So now police can arrest you? नहीं. कल के लिए करोगे तब की तरफ देखेंगे. This is called ex post facto legislation. This article prevents ex post facto legislation, means you cannot bring a law after the event. I commit a murder today and there is no law for murders. So tomorrow, if parliament makes a law for murder, I cannot be convicted, because this article prohibits ex post. Ex post is a Latin phrase for means after the event. After the event legislation. Clear हो सबको? You cannot punish somebody from retrospective effect. Criminal laws only. That was the case. देखिए, this was the problem we faced in Nirbhaya rape case. सबको पता है Nirbhaya rape case? It was in a lot of hype in Delhi. So what happened? Those people who were involved, there was a minor. Minor में there is a problem that you can be punished up till 18. मान लीजिए, if you have committed a crime at the age of 17 years or 355 days, 56 होते हैं, 65 होते हैं, 64 days, you commit a rape at the age of 17 years 365 days, so you are one day away from becoming 18. Police arrest you, you are put behind bars, so you will be behind bar for one day only, even for rape. That's the problem we had with respect to criminal legislations. यहाँ तक थोड़ा समझ में आ रहा है सबको? This what happened, that Nirbhaya rape case happened. There was an individual, I think he was 16 or 17 years old. So under the juvenile law, he could not be punished more than 18, and he committed a heinous crime. अब the problem was a lot of people accumulated in Delhi that punished this person. अब the thing is, we are a country of law, not whims and fancies. If we start giving exemption to this person, na, we can exempt anyone. कल मान लेते हैं government says this person is a terrorist and all people say do not give him assistance, तो हम उसे भी नहीं देंगे. You got the point? It will lead us to the problem of, that's why I always say due process of law must be followed. Must be. No encounters. Encounters are only a escape route. जब सरकार निकम्मी होती है तो एनकाउंटर करवाती है. When the governments are inefficient, ineffective, then they do encounters. Why? Because by this they excite your emotions. कि wow, a rape happened and encounter happened. Wow, quick justice. But would that empower a retired person fighting for his own pension in a court? उसे pension थोड़ा ना मिल जाएगी. Would that empower this a woman fighting against a neta on rape case? You got the point. Due process protects individual and the people, and this shortcuts of encounters and all protect whom? The politicians from accountability. Now the baat clear hai? In that case, people were demanding something, and we are a country of law, due process of law. We cannot make exemption for anyone, howsoever bad that person may be, because we have no sympathy with that person, but we have sympathy with whom? Ourselves. We have sympathy with our society. If today you give exemption to this person, tomorrow you can give exemption to anyone, and it's a slippery slope. Who knows where you will stop? Government will say anyone who commits heinous crime, murder and rape, if that person will be hanged in public view in the street. So what? How we will be differentiating from civilized and uncivilized society? Due process protects everyone, and this shortcut only dilutes accountability of the government. So people were right when they were protesting and they were demanding that he should be hanged. They were right. They were hurt. So people's emotion is different thing. As a civil servant, as a politician, as a judge, as a lawyer, you have to be non-sentimental. That's the first condition of becoming a civil servant. Be non-sentimental, because if you are sentimental, you will never do proper justice. Imagine you are sentimental, and for example, you are a man. You have a tendency. Your psyche is that women are not equal to men. If government brings a scheme that women should be empowered for some reason, you will never be able to implement that scheme by heart, because your sentiments comes in way of your duty. That's why we say a police person or anyone, be it a judge or anyone, shall be non-sentimental. Your personal feeling is for you, but when you are doing duty, you should follow due course of law. Clear? So it was again, I'm not justifying those people that we let off that person after 2 years of imprisonment only, but what I am justifying is law. यहाँ तक clear है सबको? Then I will continue. ठीक है? What happened? Government brought a law. After that Nirbhaya rape case, government brought amendment, a law, Juvenile Justice Act. Under this act, government reduced the age. The age now is 16. Earlier, above 18, you could be punished for proper crime. Now, even if you are 16 and above, you can be punished for heinous crimes. Again, heinous crimes only. If you are a juvenile below 18 and you commit a heinous crime, for example, you commit a rape, and if you are below 16, again, nothing much can happen. You can be given severe punishment, but no death penalty. If you are 16 and above, then only for heinous crimes. Heinous crimes means rape, murder kind of crime. You can be given death penalty. But can I punish that individual by this law? Tell me. People online, nahi. Why? Because this law was made after the event, and this article prohibits any law to be made after the event. So anyone who now commits rape and murder, who is 16 and above, will be treated like an adult, but only after the act. Before this, anyone who had committed rape and murder will never be convicted with death penalty as an adult. Clear? This is what we mean by ex post facto legislation. No state in India, no legislature in India can make ex post facto legislation, ex post facto law. Clear, everyone? Online clear? Shivani clear? ठीक है. So next is, अच्छा हाँ, इसमें one thing we understood with respect to criminal laws. But remember, I told you this is only for criminal laws. We understand what is criminal law, which has severe penalties. Civil laws, which are more of monetary in nature. I do not pay back your money is civil crime. I hurts you, slaps you. It's a criminal offense by abusing. It's an abuse. So criminal civil में फर्क होता है severity of crime. Clear? This law does not apply on civil. Means, for example, today I pay 10% taxation on my income. ठीक है? Tomorrow government brings amendment into the taxation law and says everyone has to pay 20% tax from 2000. Means I have already paid tax from 2000 to 2022. 22 years I have paid the taxes for 10%. Now I have to pay again 10% more for 22 years. Clear है देखो? 2020 ज्यादा हो गया. Clear है? Civil law में there can be retrospective effects. Everyone clear that we can make civil laws by retrospective effects, not criminal. But I suggest do not do this. Why? You will economy. There is a case of Hutch, Vodafone, that now called as Vodafone Idea. When Vodafone was to be acquired by Hutch earlier, पता है सबको Hutch होती थी पहले. हाँ, जैसे वो पप्पी था छोटा वाला. The Hutch SIM, the Vodafone SIM that you have, it used to be called Hutch earlier. It was a foreign company again. Vodafone came in to buy Hutch. That deal was negotiated in Cayman's Island. It's in Caribbean. So what happened when government of India said that you owe us 1 lakh crore rupees in taxation because all the assets were transferred from India. Hutch transferred everything to Vodafone in India. So it's on our soil. Pay us the taxes. But they said that we are two foreign companies negotiating a deal on a foreign land. Then you are not a party here. अब उस समय में they took advantage of a tax laws. A tax laws had this loophole. अब they took advantage. Then what government did? Government amended the tax laws from retrospective effect. They said, okay, fine. You are saying right. Let's amend the law from retrospective effect. So now you come under tax ambit. Now pay the tax. It's a very big problem. Then they took it to Supreme Court. There was a lot of nuisance. To this, Narendra Modi, when came to power, coined the term tax terrorism. Actually, this government liked the word terrorism. Na? They put that terrorism word to everyone. Okay? So Narendra Modi, if you see, he gave one of his speech to the corporate sector. He was saying that I will stop tax terrorism. He was referring to this example. So again, you can, just because you can do something, it does not mean you should do something. There's a difference between can and should. You are empowered to, for example, kill somebody does not mean you should kill somebody. Clear है? Can should में फर्क होता है. यहाँ तक clear है that we can amend a civil law from retrospective effect, but not criminal laws. Next we have is double jeopardy. This article prevents double jeopardy. What is double jeopardy means? Double punishment. For example, again same example, that person, इसी को बात करते हैं, निर्भया rape case we discussed, that person was 16 or 17, so he could not be convicted for as an adult. He could not be given death penalty. Now you may say, now you have a law, let's punish him again. Can you punish him again? No, because constitution prohibits double jeopardy. Take an example. If today there is a penalty for example, for violating the red light, you have to pay 1,000 rupees. Say for example, so I have to pay 1,000 if I have violated the red light. Tomorrow, government amend the law and make it to 20,000. So do I have to pay 20,000? No, because I violated the law today and I have already been penalized for 1,000 rupees. I cannot be again penalized for 10,000. Clear? This is called double jeopardy. A person cannot be punished for same crime again. He has to do another crime. ठीक है? दोबारा रेड लाइट जंप करनी पड़ेगी. मेट्रो में स्पीड पे हुए तो 200 रुपए फिर फाइन दोगे. उस क्राइम के लिए किया. फॉर वन, ये तो वही बात होगी, मैंने यू कमिटेड अ मर्डर टुडे, यू आर गिवन दैट पेनल्टी. एक को मर्डर किया फिर दैट पेनल्टी क्यों दे रहे हो? हैव यू हर्ड ना कि एक मर्डर की देयर इज वन पनिशमेंट फॉर दैट मर्डर इज that penalty. For one murder, that penalty. For 10 murder, that penalty. It's not like this. In US, have you heard that a lot of people are given multiple life imprisonment? 500-600 साल की सजा देते हैं. सुना है? सुनना. That देखिए इंडिया में थोड़ा डिफरेंट है लॉ में. यूएस में there is a tradition that they punish you for every crime individually. So a single person often given punishment for 300, 400, 500 years. That person will not live that much. But what's the reason? That person violated 3 or 4 laws. So for every law, he will be punished. In India, we often award the highest penalty. For example, you raped and murdered. So in both cases, for example, you are a juvenile here. मान लेते हैं. So for rape, you cannot be given that penalty. But for murder, you can be. So what the court will do, will give you that penalty for murder. In India, we often give the highest penalty possible, clubbing. But again, it's not a general rule. It depends upon judge. The judge can also give it 2 different penalties. Okay? Clear everyone? That is called double jeopardy. You cannot be punished for the same crime again. That is prohibited under Article 20. Clear? Ram, Shivani, Sushmita is clear. Soumya, Nikita. ठीक है. Third thing is self-incriminating evidences. Self. Article 20 prohibits self-incriminating evidences. Imagine you are arrested. A police personnel threatens to beat you and then make you sign a confession that you are a terrorist. It happens in police station. What cannot happen? Of course, that person is so much powerful. If that person do something with you, तो कहाँ जाओगे? In that scenario, sign कर देना. Don't worry. If that person even says na that you are the illegitimate son, sign कर देना. Terrorist sign कर देना. Pakistani sign कर देना. The thing that I am saying is it does not matter. Why? Because Article 20 prohibits self-incriminating evidences. No person can be a witness of his own crime. So if you sign there, it has zero value in the court of law. Clear? It will not be accepted as a concrete proof. However, later on, there was a case, Salvi what? Salvi versus state of Karnataka. जो भी है. Again, Salvi case, Supreme Court said that of course you cannot be a witness of your own crime, but police can take some evidences from you which will not impinge on your identity. Example, you are convicted, for example, rape. Rape में क्या होता है? You have only 24 hours to take the samples. Otherwise, the sample will go away. That's why a lot of people who are powerful who commit rape, they prevent the woman from reaching police station in 24 hours. After that, the sample is non-recoverable. So it will not bring to any identity. Recoverable नहीं रहता वो. So what they do is, in that case, अब court मान लेते हैं, it happened on a Saturday. Sunday, the court is off. So you have to keep that person for some time. Within that time, the sample will go bad. And you cannot extract the sample because it is prohibited. The Supreme Court said such kind of sampling like thumbprint, semen sample, your signature, your writing, these things can be taken by any individual and it is not a violation of self-incriminating evidence. Clear? There are certain things which will not change the fact. For example, a thumbprint. If I take by force or by you willingly give that thumbprint, that will always be there. ऐसा तो नहीं है कल बदल जाएगा. But a byan, a testimony that you give can change. You said something, you signed, and then you can change that thing. So in that case, the thing that can be of changeable nature cannot be taken. But the thing that will not change can be taken. But again, here the police has to maintain your privacy. ऐसा नहीं है कुछ भी कर रहे हैं. क्लियर बोलिए. ठीक है, तो these are the 3 things under Article 20. The things is ex post facto legislation, double jeopardy, and self-incriminating evidence. All these 3 things are prohibited because we had the experience of British Raj, and British Raj abused all these 3 things. A lot of people were punished for the same crime multiple times. Britishers forcefully took incriminating evidences from Indians. जबरदस्ती की हरकतें होती थी. To prevent all these things, you have been given rights. ठीक है, क्लियर एवरीवन? चलिए लिखिए, राइट डाउन. Continue writing. Article 20, Clause 1. Article 20, Clause 1 prohibits the state Article 20, Clause 1 prohibits the state from enacting ex post facto legislations. Prohibits the state from enacting ex post facto legislations. Full stop. It means a criminal legislation. It means a criminal legislation cannot be enacted. A criminal legislation cannot be enacted from retrospective effect. From retrospective effects. Full stop. However, this protection is not available. However, this protection is not available in civil offences. In civil offences. Full stop. Next para. Basically, no person can be convicted. Basically, no person can be convicted for any offense. No person can be convicted for any offense except for the violation of the laws enforced at the time of commission of the offense. At the time of the commission of the offense. Okay. Full stop. Next para. It also means that a civil offense cannot be converted to a criminal offense from retrospective effect. Civil offense cannot be converted to a criminal offense from retrospective effect. Full stop. Next, Article 20, Clause 2. Retrospective effect. Next, Article 20, Clause 2. Article 20, Clause 2 prohibits a person. Article 20, Clause 2 prohibits a person from being prosecuted. Prohibits a person from being prosecuted and punished. more than once, prosecuted and punished more than once for the same offense. More than once for the same offense. More than once for the same offense. For the same offense. Full stop. Next point. If a criminal act if a criminal act also entails entails, if a criminal act also entails a civil punishment, then it is not a case of double jeopardy. Not a case of double jeopardy. So similarly, if a civil servant loses the job, due to if a civil servant loses the job due to the conviction in a crime, if the civil servant loses the job due to the conviction in a crime, loses the job due to conviction in a crime, then it will not be accounted as double jeopardy. 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 Geography नहीं भाई. Jeopardy. बता, double jeopardy, double punishment. Basically, it says, for example, you are a civil servant, you are convicted for murder. So what will happen? You will automatically lose your job. It will not be double jeopardy. You can say you convicted me in the prison for 10 years, you convicted me for 20 years, and again you are taking away my job. You are punishing me 2 times. No, भाई ऐसा नहीं होता. ठीक है. Next, Article 20 Clause 3. Article 20 Clause 3. It provides protection. Against self-incriminating evidences. That is no person shall be a witness. No person shall be a witness of his own case. Full stop. That is why witness of his own case. Full stop. That is why any confessional statement made made before the police, either voluntary either voluntary or by force. made before the police, either voluntary or by force, is not acceptable, is not acceptable in the court of law, is not acceptable in the court of law as evidence. क्या हुआ? Basically it says na कि I told you self incriminating evidence, anything that you write in front of a policeman will not be admissible in the court of law because the self incriminating, it cannot be done. आप कोर्ट में जाइए, प्रूव करिए कि वो सही था. एक मिनट रिपीट करना कोई यार, लास्ट को. गले में दर्द हो रहा है, ज्यादा ही बोल लिया आज. अरे चलिए. Done, everyone written? After that continue writing full stop. However, if a confession is made before, if a confession is made before a judicial magistrate, then only. However, if a confession is made before the judicial magistrate, then only it is admissible. It is admissible in the court of law. Then only it is admissible. Then only it is admissible in the court of law. Full stop. Next para. Article 20 clause 3. Article 20 clause 3 does not protect. Article 20 clause 3 does not protect the accused from providing any sample, like signature, comma fingerprint, comma blood, comma semen, and so on. कैसे होगा आपका सीमेंट सैंपल से या ब्लड सैंपल से? इट डज नॉट प्रूव ना यू कमिटेड द रेप. उसके लिए दे हैव टू प्रूव यू वर देयर. किसके? वुमन के? तो वो तो लैबोरेटरी रिपोर्ट्स जाएंगी ना. सैंपलिंग वुड बी डन and the reports will be collected and it will be shown to the court later on. But sampling has to be done then, na? Arrest ke within 24 hours sampling has to be done. So for that this article, otherwise this article prohibits self incriminating. फीमेल के केस में क्या? मैं समझा नहीं क्या. देखिए सेल्फ incriminating में there are two kind of evidences, one that can change and one that is permanent. For example, your thumbprint, your signature, your blood, your semen, these things will not change. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि आज बदली कल बदल जाएंगी. So the thing is, if they are collected, it will not change the outcome of the case. लेकिन अगर if I write something on a paper and make you sign that, then it can change everything. For example, if this मान लेते हैं this provision is not there, For example, if this provision is not there, then I can force you to write anything. British used to do this thing. I will write, you are a terrorist, you try to assassinate the prime minister. You're plotting to assassinate the prime minister. You never did. But I will force you, and you know that I will beat you if you will not sign. Then you will sign the agree. And if it's that admissible in the court of law, then you will be tried for terrorism and you will be put behind bar for terrorism. But that is not admissible. But for that, if I take your fingerprint to match something, your writing sample to match something, तो वो तो बदलेगा नहीं ना. That will never change. So I can take those evidences which will never change the outcome, but not those evidences which will change the case itself. So those are prohibited under this article. ठीक है? Next लिखिए. क्या लिखा है? Could you repeat the last line? Okay, ठीक है. ठीक है. Because the outcome of such sampling, because the outcome of such sampling does not change, outcome of such sampling does not change with time, does not change with time, or with the fact, change with time, or with the fact it is taken voluntary or by force, or by the fact that it is taken voluntary or by force. ठीक है? First up, next para. Supreme Court in Salvi, SALVI. Supreme Court in Salvi versus State of Karnataka. Supreme Court in Salvi versus State of Karnataka case has held that no person can be compelled to undergo any of the polygraph, brain mapping, and so on. Compelled to undergo any of the polygraph, brain mapping, and so on. Brain, yes, brain mapping and so on. Okay, the article 20 is done. Next, article 21. इसमें today we will do some concepts and tomorrow we will write. ठीक है? Next is article. Yes, इसमें we have to, मतलब not as big as 29 or 19, but somewhat big. Article 21, the right to life and personal liberty. So why this article? Very simple. Without right to life, what you will do with freedom of speech? What you will do with that imprisonment and all? So this article is also known as the center of our article, or the base of our article, or the fundamental of fundamental articles. Clear? Because without right to life, there is nothing. Clear? So in that, first we have to discuss few things. First, we have to distinguish between procedure established by law versus due process of law. Procedure established by law versus due process of law. Why we are discussing this? Because this article says that remember, it says that everyone, one distinction, article 19 was available only to Indian citizens. This article is available to everyone. Everyone who is living within the Indian territory has right to life. चाहे आप पाकिस्तानी हो, बांग्लादेशी हो, doesn't matter. You could be of any country, any descent, anyone. You have right to life. Having said that, this article says that everyone has right to life and personal liberty, except that the state can take away your life and liberty by procedure established by law. In exceptions, it says that the state can take away your life by procedure established by law. It says if the government of India wants to hang you, then it has to have a law, basically. For example, government brings a law that if you slangs Mr. Modi, then you will be hanged as a traitor. So can they? Yes, they can. अभी तो बताया law बना दिया. Yes, they can, because procedure established by law. Of course, you can challenge that to Supreme Court. That's a different thing. When you will challenge that to Supreme Court, few things will follow. Number one, first Supreme Court will see whether such a law exists or not. These are the tests for procedure established by law. Second thing, the Supreme Court will see whether the authority which made the law had the power or not. Law was made that if you slang Modi, you will be hanged as a traitor. For that, you went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court will see first thing, whether such law exists. Yes, it does. You have to provide the proof to the Supreme Court. Second, whether the body that made the law had the power. You will say, yes, Parliament made the law. It has the power. Then the third point. Third point क्या होगा? मैं खुद भूल गया. नहीं. The third point is whether the procedure was followed or not. Means first the parliament will see whether such law is there. You will provide the proof. Yes, the law is there. Then the judiciary will see whether who made the law. Then parliament made the law. Parliament has the power. Yes, it has the power. Then it will see whether they followed the procedure. Means Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, debate, discussion, passage, and then president signed. Whether all these stages were done or not. If yes, fine. Law is approved. This is called procedure established by law. So in this case, if the law is made to, if you slang Modi ji and you will be hanged as a traitor, the Supreme Court will uphold that law as legally valid, constitutionally tenable, and anyone who will slang will be hanged. Okay? This is what happened in A.K. Gopalan case. A.K. Gopalan was a person arrested during emergency. We understand the word emergency. इंदिरा गांधी ने लगाई थी. इमरजेंसी वी हैव नॉट डन येट, वी विल डू लेटर. तो यहां तक थोड़ा बहुत समझते हैं. इमरजेंसी में व्हाट मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट हैपन इन इमरजेंसी इज all of your fundamental rights are suspended at that point of time. Today is a different scenario. At that point of time, if government implements emergency, it means all of your rights are suspended, including right to life. So A.K. Gopalan went to Supreme Court. He was arrested during emergency. He was a leftist leader. So he was arrested. He went to Supreme Court that, sir, this arrest of mine is untenable because it is violating my right to life. What it argued? It argued that, please, sir, though the constitution says that the government can take away your life by procedure established by law, but actually the constitution has due process of law. Now, what is due process of law? It says all these three steps will be followed. In due process of law, the court will look at all these three steps. There is an additional fourth step here. The fourth step is whether the law made is just, fair, or reasonable or not. So the law we discussed will be upheld as legally constitutionally valid in this doctrine, but will fall in this doctrine. And using this, the Supreme Court will say that this law is unconstitutional, invalid. Clear सबको the difference between the both? दोनों में difference एक second. यस यस राम सेम। उसमें देखिए इशू यही तो था उसमें, व्हाट वाज द इशू वी AK गोपालन केस वी डिस्कस इन preamble. What was the issue? He said that the preamble shall be guiding star for the constitution. Guiding star for the constitution. Why he said? Because preamble mein there is a term for liberty and justice. Most important, liberty. He said, what you are doing, you are unjustly imprisoning me. Use preamble to interpret right to life and establish that in emergency your right to life will not be taken. वही केस है। क्लियर राम? लाइट हाउस सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा था, ठीक है। हाँ, तो देखिए व्हाट इज द थिंग, अ लॉ, इसमें फोर्थ स्टेप है। what happens is, for example, again a law is made slanging Modi, you will be hanged as a traitor. In that case, first Supreme Court will say such law exists, you will provide the document, yes, law exists. Then it will see whether who made the law, you will say parliament. They will see parliament has the power to make law, yes it has. So first stage is done, second stage is done. Then third stage it will look whether the procedure was followed or not. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, president, and then notification was done or not. If it is done, stage 3 is done. So under this doctrine, only 3 stages are there. After this, the Supreme Court will say, okay, the law is valid, you will be hanged. But if you use due process, then first all 3 stages will go. After this, rather than holding the law valid, it will go to the 4th stage. The 4th stage, Supreme Court will look at the law and see whether it is just, fair, or reasonable or not. If it is not, invalid. Clear? In this, there are only 3 stages. In this, there are 4 stages. 3 plus 1, 4. Differentiate हो तो गया. If there is just, fair, and reasonable, then this. If there is no just, fair, and this. For example, if that law is upheld, so of course we will say it's procedure established by law. So it's unjust law, na? By slanging somebody, you will give that penalty. You got the point. So it's unjust. So in due process of law, it will be upholded as or unconstitutional. भाई इतना तो कोई भी समझ जाएगा, of course, बिल्कुल. You are right. It will depend upon the judge. Judge to judge vary करता है. It's of course all judgment. If you look from judiciary, it varies. But I am taking an example which is overtly bad. It's just the law that I took as an example. उसको तो आप खुद ही कह दोगे ना. It's bad. So if you can, if I give you these 3 powers only, you will say I have no choice, legally valid. But the time I give you this power of just, fair, and reasonable, you will say invalid. AWS. हाँ, उसमें चैलेंज नहीं क्या होगा ना किसी ने, सुप्रीम कोर्ट अपनी मर्जी है, खुद से यूजली सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं करना चाहिए. सुप्रीम कोर्ट वेट्स फॉर यू टू चैलेंज. यू आर द सिटीजन ना. सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज नॉट गेटिंग इफेक्टेड. समटाइम्स सुप्रीम कोर्ट टेक कॉग्निजेंस. समटाइम if something big happen, they take cognizance. Generally people go with them. EWS में भी देखा, जनहित अभियान went to the Supreme Court. So there's numerous NGOs, numerous bodies who work for the people only. वो जाती रहते हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट. Petition is a very common thing. वही राम उस पे आ रहे हैं, उस पे that point we are having at. यहाँ तक क्लियर है डिफरेंस बिटवीन बोथ? बोलिए क्लियर. अब let us conclude. What happened in AK Gopalan case? Supreme Court said that you have only procedure established by law but not due process of law. In Menka Gandhi case, the next case, Supreme Court concluded that in Constitution the word is written procedure established by law, but actually it means due process of law. So this is the final status. In India, you have what? Due process of law, not procedure established by law. Clear? All 4 principles apply on every law made by the state. Clear Ram now? ठीक है. चलिए, so with that our time is also over. So we will write this tomorrow. And one point let me add, this is English tradition, this is US tradition. Because in England, who is supreme? Parliament. So anything made by the parliament, Supreme Court cannot do much. In US, constitution is supreme. So the judiciary can uphold any law made by the parliament as unconstitutional. Okay, so remember this. This is US tradition. This is UK tradition. Our constitution provide UK tradition. Supreme Court interpreted in them US tradition. Because Supreme Court can, I told you, it can interpret anything. Constitution में no लिखा है, Supreme Court can interpret that as yes, and we all will say yes. ठीक है, everyone clear? Especially Shivani, is it clear? It's your first class. I hope things are clear. नहीं हो तो again, you can always approach. Ask your mentor to connect with me, and you can ask anything. बोले guys, online clear? ठीक है, Shivani, it's your first class, that's why I'm asking you. Is it clear? कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं हुई समझने में कॉन्सेप्ट को? Again, I'm repeating for everyone, especially you are online, so you are at disadvantage because यहाँ पे जो offline है, they can ask before class and after class always. They always had a lot of interaction with the teachers. So any problem that comes to you, do ask your mentor to connect. They connect directly with phone. So you can ask anything, virtually anything on the phone. ठीक है? And it's always welcome. Everyone can ask anything. चलिए. With that note, we will meet tomorrow. Have a nice day, everyone. Happy learning. Bye.